gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to Wins Adventures with me, Ian Lawrence, here in the great outdoors. And today we're going to be doing part 2 of the Weils disease and Lyme disease section of 2 videos. So this is the second one. Today we're going to be looking at the kind of environments that you might catch it in, ways that you can try stop yourself catching these things, and basically having a look at where the little devils live. See you in a minute. Okay, on the last video when I talked about Weils disease and Lyme disease, I spoke about the floods and then the puddles created by the floods due to the ground in many cases being baked hot on hot days, and then when the water gets over the flood banks and such like, it will cause this kind of effect. Now this area is normally dry, but because we're on the other side of a flood bank, it's now flooded, and this is the kind of location, as well as puddles at the side of a river or a pond or stream, is where you're liable to pick up Weils disease, where rats have weed in the water, and that water from the puddles on the side and places like this has the infection in it. Right, as I walk along here, I'm in sort of undergrowth, nettles, these reedy kinds of plants and weeds. And at this time of year there's a very good chance there's going to be ticks in this. Now the ticks can't jump onto me, they can't fly onto me, but as I'm walking around I can pick them up on my legs, which is basically going to get them onto me. So even when I'm taking my clothes off afterwards, I've got to be aware that I brush down my trousers and such like outside the house to ensure that the ticks aren't going to go from my clothes onto me. And it's so easy, if you see something like a plant or a wild edible or such like, when you go down to get it, there's a chance that your hands or whatever is going to get the ticks on. So when you get back from a camp or walk, when you've been out in a location like this, you can see over there they've got some quite high stuff. When you've been out here, that once you get home, you check yourself at this time of year, in fact all the way through sort of spring, summer and such like, and then hopefully get someone else to check you as well in the locations where you can't see, because you're not going to feel them bite you, and you're not going to see a mark to start with. It takes a while for the bite to actually show through, and it's the nymph stage of the ticks which are most to blame for Lyme disease, because they will sit on your skin and they will burrow in and start taking your blood, and they can stay there for weeks without you noticing. And like I said in the last video, one of the main places that people tend to get caught by them are on the head, under their armpits, in the groin area, and places like that where there's rich blood supply. So yeah, this is a classic example. So when I get back, I will be checking myself to find out if I've been hit by any ticks. But up to this point, thanks be to the Lord, I've never been hit by them yet. And it's 70 in England, it's 17% of ticks are actually carrying the Lyme disease. This place, in honesty, has got high chances of having Lyme disease and Weils disease due to the water rats, rodents. We've also got horses and cattle further up, and cows. Right, where we are now is on a fishing stage, and you see one here, you see one just up there and another one further on. And this is a prime place for catching both Weils disease and Lyme disease, because you've got all these hedges up here where you can pick up the ticks, and also Weils disease when the rats are coming onto these banks all the way along here. So while you're sitting there fishing and you're picking things up and you're sort of sorting your bait out and everything, there's a chance that you can actually pick these things up. And if you don't wash your hands, you know, you're doing some fishing, you don't wash your hands or use that bacterial cleaner, antibacterial cleaner that you can get in the little bottles, always use that before you eat food. Because, you know, if you go straight from the floor to pick your sandwiches up or whatever it is you're having and then put them straight in your mouth, there's a good chance you can get it. Also, sometimes somebody might drop a water container in the water, and then they'll pick the water container up and then drink from it. Again, it's another chance of getting Weils disease. Now, I'm doing this video because I've heard, since I did my last video, I've had some heartbreaking stories come to me where people have been in real bad situations for many years. You know, there is information out there online on YouTube about rats and all these other rodents and cows and stuff like that carrying Lyme disease, and also there's information about Weils disease. Now, one thing that people complain about when they come out here into the great outdoors is midges. Now midges, they're going to bite you and they're going to cause itching, and when you scratch them they might make it bleed, and that can cause go on to secondary infection. But it's the silent bugs which are the issue, and the silent diseases, the bacteria. So when you're looking at Weils disease, it's the urine in the water. I'll just keep going on about this, I'll keep reiterating it so it embeds it. It's the urine in the water, or in the case of Weils disease also, if you're eating meat, if you catch food out in the wilds and then you prepare it but have it raw and there's still blood, you can still get Weils disease via that blood because it's in the bloodstream of the animal who has it. And with the ticks, they sort of lie around in all this, or just sitting down here and having something to eat. These ticks could be sort of climbing onto me now and causing those issues. Now it's a debilitating, both of these things are very debilitating over a long period of time, and a lot of people don't catch on to the fact of what it could be, hence these videos. So you might come down with like flu-like symptoms, start feeling really run down, like you're aching, your eyesight start to go a little bit blurred, and your eye interference with vision and focusing. You might start feeling a little bit like you've got stomach cramps or that kind of thing. And it's like as if you're coming down with a viral infection, and you'll go to doctors and you'll say, I'm coming down with this, oh I've had it before, I just need this and that. Or some people, when they get a virus, they just try and sort of fight it through without taking any antibiotics. That's all well and good, but if you know you're out here in the outdoors a lot, it's very, very important that when you go to the doctor, you inform him you've either been in water, you've been by water fishing or whatever it is, you've been kayaking or sailing or anything, or just been by the water, and you inform him of that. So if it continues and the virus continues past the normal sort of week and a half, it can go out then and get you some tests done for Weils disease and also Lyme disease. Now I've been speaking to people who've actually contracted this, and you would think that they get it, then they have the antibiotics and it'll go away. Well, years ago, 1980s, early 90s, it wasn't widely known in this country. It was, but it wasn't out there, the information wasn't there for the masses. So when people were coming down these things, it weren't diagnosed, even in hospitals in many cases. And I've been getting this feedback, which is absolutely brilliant. People giving me information so I can pass that information on. And a lot of people have had serious issues with blood supply, with vascular issues, heart complaints, liver and kidney complaints, the arthritic issues in bones, loss of range of movement, constant migraines. And people have to live with this, and once you've got it, it can cause long-term psychological issues and physical issues. So the best way to combat that is to make sure you don't get it in the first place, and if you feel as though you're coming down with it at all, to ensure that you get to the doctor and get it sorted out as soon as possible. Make the doctor aware, and just really push the point that you've been in water and you've been in areas where there might have been ticks. Apparently it's a black-legged tick. I'm not 100% sure, but I've been told it's only the black-legged tick that causes it. I'm not sure, so I'm not going to go on with that. But also you've been around areas where there might have been rats, or you've been where there have been cattle and water. A lot of farmers actually have an injection which stops them getting Weils disease because they're in that environment all the time. And a lot of people who's involved in the outdoors, for example, or working in sewerage areas and watery areas like that where there's going to be rats and ratweed, just to ensure that you don't actually contract it in the first place. Does that make sense? Okay, so if we're looking at stopping the ticks and bugs and such like, there's a product called permethrin, and there's different items that you can buy, for example on Amazon or offline or in shops. It's basically a spray that you spray all over your equipment, your bug net, which I'm going to be doing, bug net, your basher sheet, your sleeping bag, your bivy bag, all over your clothes, your hats and everything. If you spray it all over, that will kill the ticks on contact, including other small creepy crawly bugs which might make your life a nightmare. So that's a great option for people. So I just went and had a look, see what they were, and if I remember, I'll try and put some of the products in the description below on Amazon links. Again, I don't make any money from that, it's just showing people where you can get the best stuff from. Alright guys. Okay, another issue that I thought of is wild edibles. And a lot of people might say, well, when I collect the nettles and the goosegrass and the dandelions and such like, I take it and then I'll boil it, and then sort of, you know, so you're sterilising the food. But how many times have we taken as kids into locations such as this by the river, going collecting blackberries, eating apples and all that kind of stuff? You've got to be aware that there's always a chance that once you've been out collecting these natural, amazing wild edibles, there is a good chance that you could catch Weils disease from that. And also with the ticks in the grass, you're walking your kids through long grass in sort of overrun areas in shorts, and a lot of people are still going out in the outdoors wearing shorts and such like, when there's a good chance that these ticks are just going to jump onto your legs. I mean, I've said this before, but I wear trousers, thickish canvas trousers, and I wear the gaiters, and the gaiters are over my boots, and then this is going down over here, so I'm ensuring that I'm covered all the way down. And some people must have looked at my videos and thought, well, he's only in woods, what's he wearing gaiters for? It's not because of the brambles. I'm not scared of getting little sticky things in my socks. It's because I'm ensuring that when I'm out and about, none of these insects and things can actually get onto my skin. A lot of the time I wear gloves. These are fingerless gloves. I do wear them a lot of the time because I'm dealing with knives and such like, but I also wear them for protection. It's very, very rarely you'll actually get me out and about with a short sleeve t-shirt on, especially if I'm moving across land. It's because I'm so aware of it, and I spent so much time on rivers as a senior kayak instructor that I was coming up against the Weils disease thing all the time. People being reported picking Weils disease up, and we used to have like a map. We used to stick a little pin in when somebody contracted or they believed that the Weils disease in that location, or there were a high amount of rats in the water, etc., or if there were cows next to a river, so that when they were weeing, the wee was actually draining off in the weather down to the side of the river. So when you're getting out, you're actually putting your hands on the ground, and the ground had soaked up the cow wee or the horse wee or whatever it were, pigs, whatever, and there's a chance that they could actually have Weils disease, because we understood how important it was not to contract it at the end of the day. Another point is that there's going to be a lot of people out there who have campsites out in the woodlands or in an area of woodland or a location which they've been given permission for, their own permission. Be aware of the sort of, when you're leaving water around, be aware of if there's rats coming into your site on an evening. Have you got grazing cattle coming through the location where you're camping? Checking out the water sources close to where you are. Ensuring, a good idea is to ensure you've got some of the sterilising hand liquid. Just gaffer tape a little bottle of it and hang it from a known tree. So when people ever come back from going to the toilet, or when they've been to collect water or such like, they can actually use a bit of that and rub it on their hands before they actually go back into the campsite. Just a thought. And ensuring that all the pots and pans, if they're left at the site, are actually cleaned when you come back to the site before you start doing anything else. Making sure there's no puddles and water around the area where you might be doing your cooking. Alright, does all this make sense? Basically, you'll be sterilising the environment around your site where you keep returning to, because sometimes people will ask people along to their site and they'll say, you know, come along to our site. And those people have the chance that are contracting Weils disease. Also have a word with people about the ticks on site. Just have a quick chat before you start your camp. You know, telling people to be aware that there might be ticks in that location and giving information about how they can avoid it, etc., etc. And it's a good idea if you've got a camping area, to make sure that the undergrowth is cut back, so you've got like a short grass area where you are, because ticks like the long stuff. They like to get into the brambles and all the big piles of sticks and such like, and when you go through them, that's where you're going to pick them up. You can pick them up from the grass, but there's less chance when people are going down to the grass than there is if they're walking through long undergrowth, etc., etc. And I can't iterate the point of boiling water enough. Filter it and boil it, even if you're on a campsite. And also, sometimes a farmer, if he's offering a location for camping, he will have a tap, an available tap. It doesn't take any work to basically go up with sterilising wipe and to clean the end of the tap quickly before you actually use it. So that's going to move any bacteria off the actual tap itself. All right, and be aware that when people are using taps on a campsite, even if it's on a normal standard campsite, those people will have been out in the outdoors. They will have been walking and going through all kinds of things. You don't know where their hands have been. So when they go to use the communal tap, they are actually turning the tap on. Yeah, so people say about public toilets that the worst and most infected part of a public toilet is the door to the actual cubicle as you walk in, or the door to the toilets, because everybody has to handle it, and you don't know what people have actually got or contracted in advance, and they can be passing that on. They're going to the toilet, if they come out, they use the door. But it's the same kind of thing with taps. If all these people are using the same tap for their water, there's a good chance that you're actually going to pick something up from literally turning the tap on. And if the spout of the tap is infected as well, that's going into your water. So clean the tap quickly, or if somebody's running a site, just go up sporadically and just keep, just wipe the tap over. And make sure that if there's a container underneath the tap to catch the drips, because if a tap drips for a long period of time, it'll make the floor muddy. So some people will put a bowl or a bucket underneath. Ensure that that's dropped out, and sterilising tablets are put in it to ensure that the water source there isn't also infected. I'm hoping this is going to help somebody. This is just stuff that I used to teach when I used to take people out and about, and I think it's important to share this information. So keep sharing this information so people stay safe out here in the great outdoors. Alright, so what is Weils disease? It's leptospirosis, I think I've got that right, and it's a corkscrew virus called Leptospirea. And basically it's contracted into your body, goes into your bloodstream, and then it incubates in your bloodstream and reproduces. You've got a description of it now. And the description of Lyme disease is going to be in the comments, because there's loads and loads of malaria virus, and there's different ones in America to what there are in mainland Europe, and there's new ones being found all the time. And it's like a wiggly woggly thing like that, and it's also spiral. Blimey, I'll put the description to my best of my ability in the comments below, and that is Weils disease. Horrible little thing. Now the other situation that we come across for people like myself who's a ground dweller is that once I'm down there on the floor in my bivy bag, there's a good chance that little ticks can come across and just jump all over me. People who's in hammocks don't have so much of an issue because they're off the ground. Alright, it doesn't mean that they're safe because they're going to come out of the hammock at some point, but the people on the ground are going to suffer quite badly. Now I'm due to get a mosquito net, a bug net, which is going to be going inside my basher, but some people on occasion I'll just use a bivy bag. You can buy sprays which are tick spray, which will keep the ticks hopefully away. There's only so much you can do, obviously. When we come out here to enjoy the great outdoors in a minimal fashion, there's only so much you can do to protect yourself against the bugs. And if you're in just a bivy bag, midges are going to be a nightmare. So I would advise people who's on the ground to use a midge net, and many of them can be tied from a tree, or you can just get yourself a branch and stick it in the ground and fasten your little hammock, your bug net from that. And it goes under, it underlaps, and then you got your ground sheet down underneath your bivy bag, or whatever it is that you're doing it. So that's what I would advise, and I'm about to acquire one, so that I'll have my basher there, I'll have my bug net inside it, and I'll have my sleep system inside that on top of a ground sheet. So that to a degree is going to protect me, but it's not a bad idea to get some of the spray that you can use and to spray inside your sleeping bag, spray around your sleeping bag, and spray on your bug net as well. And that's going to go very, very strongly towards keeping those little tykes away from yourself, so you don't start getting all the ticks jumping onto you and giving you the Lyme disease. Also, when you're on the floor and you're setting up a bivy bag, especially in bad weather when it's been raining, ensure that you don't lay neck too close to puddles, so when you're getting out of your bivy bag, you're not putting your hands into wet stuff on the floor. We could go on about this forever. It is literally a nightmare trying to avoid it. The best thing I can advise to people is when you've been out and about in the outdoors, get yourself and someone else to check you for ticks to start with, and it can be difficult. But if you start coming down with what appears to be like flu virus after you've been out in the outdoors, which sometimes people do come down with colds and flu when they've been out, get to the doctor, but make him very, very aware, and I can't embed this enough, make him aware that you've been in the outdoors and that you've been in a location which could possibly pass on one of these diseases, and you know, could he do a blood test for you? If you ask the doctor to do a blood test, that's going to ensure that you catch it earlier on in the stages, so you don't end up with any long-term issues. Some people haven't been diagnosed for 19 years. I've just seen online one lady, she was debilitated, she was having liver issues, she was having heart complaints, her vision were going, she had joint pain, and a range of movement had gone, and all these, she had all the classic signs, but it took 19 years for her to be diagnosed with having Weils disease. There you go. So just by sharing this video, it's helping other people out. Now, I'm not doing these videos to get loads and loads of money out of it. I'm doing these videos to help people. It's a non-monetized channel. So by sharing this, you're not sort of putting money in my pocket. I actually come out here in my own time between work. I'm a personal trainer, and if I'm not training clients, I'm a bit hyperactive. So I'll come out here and I'll do these videos to help people, because I'll most probably be out here anyway. So by putting a camera on, it's not making no big deal. What I'm saying to people, there's no benefit to me to do these videos. This is information for you, sharing the information, so people don't get poorly when they go out in the outdoors, and we can all enjoy it. That's what all these videos are about. See you in a bit, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like, share and subscribe. This was me, Ian Lawrence, for Ian's Adventures here in the great outdoors. Well, hello ladies and gentlemen, and very warm welcome to Ian's Adventures with me, Ian Lawrence, here in the great outdoors. A wonderful place to be, and I get out here as much as I can. But what's the channel all about? It's about bushcraft, and it's about wild camping. So we either use bushcraft shelters, basher shelters, or we use tents. Do we use maps? Yeah, of course we do. When we go up onto hills, we use maps, we use compass, and we also look at how to use a route card. What's a route card? A route card is basically an explanation of your entire route with all the different points of reference along the way, and loads of information in there. And we'll look at that on the channel. But we also look at how to build a bushcraft shelter, how to create a fire reflector, how to create fire, how to use a ferro rod and stuff like that. And my constant challenge, to be able to use a bow drill. We all need a challenge. And we also make bowls and spoons and all sorts of stuff. So a very, very big welcome to everybody to Ian's Adventures with me, Ian Lawrence, here in the great outdoors. Welcome to everybody.